Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining us tonight is one of our special guests, Alex Reclean. What's up, Alex?
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be
No,
back.
thanks for coming back. Yeah, I appreciate it. Alex is a writer over at RotoWire, does some stuff for DraftKings, has been featured in Yahoo Fantasy Analyst as well, and you just started your own podcast, Fantasy Basketball Podcast. How's that going?
It's been going pretty well so far. It's been kind of fun learning trying to teach myself how to edit it all and going through all that, working out a lot of the kinks, but it's been fun. I keep them a lot shorter. It's not sort of, the whole league overview like you guys do more of.
Are you trying to say that our podcasts are too long, Alex? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm trying to. I don't want to compete. I want symbiosis with you guys, and
Whoa.
I want people to be able to easily add me into their rotation. I don't want to replace anybody.
Careful, you might hurt some of our listeners with the vocab words coming out. But yeah, everybody go check out Alex's Fast Breaks Fantasy Podcast. It is out there on iTunes or wherever you search for your podcasts right now. And I have to say, I do like the short format.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's some good stuff out there. So everybody go check that out. And I wanted to today just do an old fashioned watching the boxes podcast where we go and we look at the boxes and see what we have to say. What do you think about that?
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Perfect. So let's just get right into it. There's a lot of games tonight, a lot of games over the last couple of days, and we're just gonna run through some of those and throw out what we've been seeing so far in our fantasy world. Alex probably has a little bit of a different perspective than me and Tyler do. And yeah, let's go to what happened tonight. Charlotte Hornets versus the Denver Nuggets. I know you wanted to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. You apparently got a thing for the Charlotte Hornets over there.
I just love Malik Monk. He's been my boy. He's been the guy I've kind of been talking up all off season. He's sort of the one guy that I've been on that other people haven't been. I'm like super excited about Thad Young and Aaron Gordon, but like so are all of the people who pay attention to fantasy basketball.
Even the people who don't pay attention to fantasy basketball were excited about Aaron Gordon. So
yeah, and like Torian Prince, but like there's nothing special about me liking those guys. But like Malik Monk's been the one where it's like I'm on him, and I look around and I don't see anyone else getting excited. And I'm just like pumped. And he finally tonight did what I thought he was going to be doing the whole time. 25 minutes, 7 for 14, so 50% from the field, 3 3-pointers, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. That's exactly what what we should expect from Malik Monk. He's not going to get a lot of those rebounds and a lot of assists, and 17 points. This is in my mind like the prototype Malik Monk night. This is what I expect him to do 40 times this season, like this exact line. And that's a fantastic line to be getting off waivers or with like your last draft pick, which is what he costs.
Yeah, this is the night of nights for you if you were high on Malik Monk, which I can't say that I was high on Malik Monk because I just really didn't know about his playing time. And tonight he played 25 minutes. But that is the most he has played this season. Now, short sample size alert, everybody. There's been a lot of those at the beginning of the season, a lot of short sample sizes, but he's only, he's only averaging about, 23 minutes, so that's not terrible. This team does need someone to come off the bench, though.
And I think that the 23 minutes is actually like such a positive thing because in the opener, he missed his first 7 shots. And in the second game, he missed his first 4 shots. So they were taking him out earlier than they wanted to, according to like, their idealized rotation that they had in their minds. because he just wasn't making anything. So I think that his playing time those first two nights were down a bit because of his poor shooting. And now that his shooting, at least tonight, what we saw is his shooting was up. And so his minutes were up. This was the first time he played 25 minutes in a game. And so I think his as long as he can keep his shooting better than 0 for 7 at the start of games, I think his minutes are going to be on the up.
Well, I think you kind of articulated exactly what I'm worried about with Malik Monk is that he doesn't have a very long leash. He is, obviously a rookie, and he's got a lot of time before he'll probably be super consistent.
Yeah,
he can do it, right? He just did it. He just did it tonight. But going forward, I'm not sure if I'm in a standard league, like a 10-team, 12-team league. I'm not sure I'm willing to take one of my bench spots and replace one of those guys with Malik Monk. I think there just might be better waiver wire players out there. I would stream Malik Monk. I think especially while he's in a little bit of a hot streak, but I'd actually rather have someone like Frank Kaminsky on this Charlotte Hornets team than Malik Monk.
So short term, yeah. Long term, I disagree, just because Kaminsky is great when Tyler Zeller is out, or whoever knows which Zeller is which. Cody Zeller.
They're all the same Zeller. There's too many Zellers in the league, and we're all
the Zellers and Plumlees are all the same. It's one person who just moves, travels from court to court very quickly.
Never seen them in the same place at the same time.
Yeah. Travels slowly when they're on the court, but from court
and off the court too, I believe.
Yeah. So Cody Zeller is the one on the Hornets. When Cody Zeller is active, Kaminsky always comes off the bench. Happened in the first game this season. And when Cody Zeller is out, Kaminsky plays really, really well. I highlighted those stats for Kaminsky without Zeller a couple days ago. Let me see if I can find that on my computer again. But yeah, Kaminsky without Zeller is great. But, Zeller at some point will be healthy.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I think Frank Kaminsky is actually pretty much the way he's been playing, and his versatility has kind of earned an ability to stay within the rotation. And his percentages are really my favorite thing about him, is that he's going to hit his free throws. He's going to shoot a decent percentage. He's going to hit threes, and he can play center if you really want him to. Let me throw out some quick hitters on the Charlotte Hornets for you. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, standard league relevant, or just let's finally call it a career for Michael Kidd?
I mean, he was out and it's his first game back, and so he only played 11 minutes. So I'm not totally willing to call it on him, but there's no reason to own him. The 8.7% of ESPN managers who own him don't, but yeah, it's not looking good for him.
Yeah, I've never really liked Kidd-Gilchrist, and I think he's fallen to the bottom of the 3 named player rankings. So sorry for everybody who had Hollis Jefferson this year as the worst player. Not at all. Kidd-Gilchrist just scraping the bottom of that barrel.
Yeah, that's interesting rankings. I like that.
It's the only thing I pay attention to.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, the clear first choice.
Easily killing everybody. Going forward, rest of the year, let me throw this another one at you. Jeremy Lamb or Malik Monk, rest of the year, who will be ranked, rest of the season, who's going to be ranked higher?
For the season, I'd want Malik Monk. For the next, between now and whatever date Nick Batum comes back, Jeremy Lamb. But for the season, Malik Monk.
I think that's fair. I like that assessment. Jeremy Lamb is got the start tonight, played 29 minutes, 16 points, 5 assists, a steal, and a block, and 3 3-pointers. That's a nice little night from Jeremy Lamb, but he really is kind of a one-trick pony. He scores a lot, and he doesn't do a ton of other things, even though tonight he did, and that's a little bit, I think, rare for Jeremy Lamb, but it's worth keeping an eye on him. Let's go over the Denver Nuggets, and a really disappointing night And a couple disappointing players on this team so far this year. I mean, short sample size. Once again, don't get too hung up on these stats that I'm about to throw at everybody. But Jokic, Will Barton. Well, I guess not Will Barton, but Jokic, Gary Harris, Paul Millsap, and Jamal Murray are all well below what they were drafted. Are all these guys buy low candidates right now?
Jokic, absolutely. Millsap, I got to assume yes.
I'm a little worried about him. He is getting up there in age, but I just don't see why he wouldn't be able to do, 17 and 7 with a block and a steal. Like why couldn't that happen? It's only been 4 games.
And Millsap, I mean, we're talking a power forward who, even as he's deteriorating, should be getting 2 assists per game, which is good for a power forward. So I think that's an important piece of his profile to include. And 2 assists is a significant decline. He's averaged 3 for the last 5 years. And I mean, he feels old, but he's only 32. I guess 32 is kind of old for a big man, though.
He's got a lot of miles on him. That's for sure.
I mean, he's a buy low, but not like, it's not as obvious. With Nikola Jokic, I would still pay. So I had Jokic as my 9th pick entering the season. I would still pay, my 10th pick of John Wall / Damian Lillard for Nikola Jokic and feel like I got a good deal.
So I mean, Jokic is going to be a top 15 player, almost guaranteed. So I'm not terribly worried about his start. And you've seen a couple flashes out of him, recently. So he's, this offense has got a lot of new parts, and a lot of people are freaking out there. And let's just really go real quick through who people are freaking out about: Jokic, Jimmy Butler, I guess Chris Paul's injury or whatever, and Millsap, and a couple other guys who are all of them on new teams.
Yep.
It takes a month or 2 for guys to learn how to play with each other and to learn what works and what doesn't. And I mean, look at that Minnesota roster. It is completely full of new guys, but so is this Denver roster.
Yep. I mean, the collective memory of the NBA talkosphere is shockingly short. It happens every time when a big name player changes teams. There's an adjustment period, exactly like you said.
The talkosphere, which I do like that word, of the fantasy basketball community, though, is the attention span of a 12-year-old. It is literally 2 games. People are like, should I drop Jimmy Butler? Should I trade him for Aaron Gordon? No. Yeah. No. I know Aaron Gordon just scored 41 points. Yeah, that was amazing. Aaron Gordon's going to be pretty good this year. Jimmy Butler's still a top 20 player.
Yeah, I mean, if Aaron Gordon has the best season that we could possibly imagine, is he a top 30? Like
maybe, right? Maybe?
Maybe. But Butler, he's top 20.
He'll figure it out. And I think these players on the Denver Nuggets, they'll figure it out too. The only one I'm a little bit worried about is Jamal Murray.
Yes.
Not terribly sure if he is a point guard. And they're really throwing him they're trying to throw him to the Wolves here, right? And I haven't liked what I've seen so far.
So the only thing, I was really down on Murray all off season, and so he hasn't been particularly great, and so it's pretty easy to stay down on someone when they're not playing well. The only thing that I see working in Murray's favor right now is the Nuggets are refusing to play Murray at shooting guard, and they're basically having Murray and Moutier trade off and share all of the point guard minutes. And the first 2 games, it was a pretty even split between Moutier and Murray. And the last 2 games, Murray's been at 29 minutes and 33 minutes, and Moutier has fallen down into the teens. And so if Murray's going to get that kind of workload, then his production should improve above what it is at right now. Like, I don't know if he's going to be the top 100 player that a lot of people were hoping for, but top 130 with 30 minutes a game, you got to assume he'd be top 130, right?
Yeah, and I think we know what I mean. People are still like, "Oh, maybe Moody is going to put it together this year." Like, there's a small group of people who are saying that, and Moody is not going to put it together this year. In fact, we don't know what's going to happen with Eric Bledsoe. The Denver Nuggets are one of the teams that are being targeted right now, but Moody is not going to get the starting position back. Moody is not going to be playing 30 minutes, and Murray's going to be playing 20. There was flashes there for Murray last year, and I believe in those flashes, right? This is, like I said, a new system, a lot of new people, but you really can't ignore some of these 20, 30-point games he had last year where he was getting, 5-6 assists, a couple 10-assist games. The guy's got Murray's got talent. He's 20 years old. He is shooting 29%.
Oof.
That's going to go up. It's going to go up.
Yeah.
And I think he is a standard league relevant player, and I've seen people dropping him in standard leagues, and I think everybody should go pick up Jamal Murray if he's at the bottom of your league.
I think there are more exciting prospects available in your waiver wire.
I would rather have Jamal Murray than Malik Monk. I'll tell you that.
I don't mind. I wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You are into Malik Monk.
I really like Malik Monk.
Well, I have to disagree with you.
Yeah, I know I'm on an island over here. It's fine. I don't mind.
It seems like a fun island, to be honest. He seems like a fun player.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind picking up Jamal Murray. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm just saying I don't think you have to. There are players on the waiver wire who really shouldn't be. Lauri Markkanen is available in 60% of ESPN leagues. That's crazy. Jamal Murray, if he's available and he fits what you want and you believe, go for it. If he doesn't, fine.
Well, let's actually go to one of the teams we just talked about, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'd actually like to go talk about that Chicago Bulls game simply because I often enjoy talking about the Chicago Bulls. It's one of the few Bulls games I actually watched. But tonight, the Detroit Pistons manhandled the Minnesota Timberwolves. Pretty embarrassing. But Jimmy Butler was out with the runs. Like, what did he have? Do you know? It was just he was sick, right?
Yeah, illness. I once I see illness, I don't look for any more details.
Yeah. Not sure what was going on there. I'm not going to dwell on the Timberwolves simply because since Jimmy Butler wasn't there, it's going to be hard to kind of figure out what to make of it. I did find Wiggins playing hefty minutes a little bit interesting, but a lot of people still own Gorgie Dang, and Gorgeous Dang should be dropped in all leagues. This guy is not going to play enough minutes to be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understood drafting him relatively high. He'd been a top 60 player for 3 years, but I mean, his minute ceiling is 16 minutes. Like, that's just not ownable anywhere.
No, even if he starts getting like 22, 23, he's not ownable. In deeper leagues, once I think you can own him because somebody gets hurt or he starts playing 23 minutes a game. That's fine. And if you're in a 16, 18 team league, all those guys matter, right? But man, it's pretty dismal down there for Gorgeous Dang.
Yeah.
Let's instead talk about the Pistons, a team like nobody ever wants to talk about.
Yeah.
And I wanna look at Tobias Harris's line tonight. 34 points, another huge scoring night for Tobias. 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 assist, 1 block, 6 3-pointers. This team is healthy. Reggie Jackson is healthy. Andre Drummond looks pretty healthy, looks pretty motivated. Tobias Harris, to me, is a little bit more of a surprise because I thought I had him figured out. Are you surprised by Tobias Harris, and do you think this influx of scoring is the real deal, or do you think this is a sell high type of moment for him?
I'm not surprised by Tobias Harris. I was surprised by Tobias Harris last year when he stunk. I've viewed Tobias Harris as kind of a poor man's Paul George for a couple of years, and not even a particularly poor man. Just like, you know, a sort of teacher's salary, Paul George. So I'm not shocked by this. I mean, it's nice to see. What I don't understand is what happened to the Pistons at the end of last season, because I still have a hard time trusting this team because that collapse was so epic. Everything just went so terribly at the end of last season, and Drummond was horrible, and Reggie Jackson looked like he might have been the worst player in the NBA, and Tobias Harris couldn't score. And now all of a sudden it's gone. It's like it never happened. And Drummond's back to, you know, a double-double every night, and Tobias Harris is apparently scoring 30 points. So my hesitation is not understanding what happened at the end of last year, and if that's just like a weird glitch in the matrix, or if that's something that has some lingering effects and might come back. But in terms of Tobias Harris's skill level, this is obviously a fantastic night for him, but this is what I believe that he's capable of.
He's currently averaging 23 points, 3 3-pointers, 5 rebounds. This is a 5-game sample size. And he's shooting 52%.
Yeah, that's a little. I mean, those are a little high.
It's a little high. Yeah, it's a little high, but it's if you go look at what he's done in the past, right? Last year, where he wasn't as good as I think he could have been, like you were saying. He's only 25 years old. He's entering his prime. Last year he was 16-5 with a couple assists and a little over 1 3-pointer. So you think the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And which is kind of why I'm thinking Tobias Harris right now is either at a high mark or pretty close to the most valuable he is going to be this year. I would be interested in shopping him around.
But do you think anyone's gonna? I guess the reason I'm not thinking what you're saying is totally logical. The only reason I'm hesitating on him as a sell high is because it's not. I mean, are you really going to find someone in your league who thinks, yeah, he's going to get 6 threes and 34 points every night?
It sounds like you play with people who know what they're doing. It sounds like you play with people who know how to play fantasy basketball, and that's the tricky part. There's 2 types of leagues. I personally feel there's the leagues with guys who came over from fantasy football, people who are new to fantasy or basketball, people who do not know the NBA, do not know what they're doing, and they either go by name recognition or rankings, and never both. Either they love LeBron and Dwight Howard because that's who they've heard of, or they're like, Tobias Harris is ranked in the top 25 right now. I want him on my team. And those are the easy leagues to exploit because you can buy low and sell high. When you play in leagues with, experts and stuff, or people who know what they're doing or know the NBA, everyone knows Tobias Harris is at his peak right now. So you're not going to get, 20 cents on the dollar is what the reverse of whatever 20 cents to the dollar is. You're not going to get $1 for whatever Tobias Harris is 20 cents. And that's just the truth. You almost have to trick people into being like, oh, Paul Millsap's had a bad start. And then you trade him hoping you get someone who's kind of equal to Paul Millsap, but who will break out later in the year and Paul Millsap will fall apart later in the year. Those are the more little complex trades you have to do.
Yeah.
And I think you're right with Tobias. Who's going to buy that he's this type of player?
Exactly.
Let's look at Andre Drummond real quick. I know he's back to do his double-double ways, and I'm kind of with you on this team. This is like how they were supposed to be playing last year, right?
Yeah. What happened? I want a 30 for 30 investigation.
I have no freaking idea. It could have been Reggie Jackson's injury. Andre Drummond was shooting a very high percentage in free throw. His shot does look a little bit different. He shot 50% tonight. He is currently shooting 72%. I just want to throw it out there. Give me an over/under on his free throw percentage for the season.
If I were setting the line, I'd set the line at 40%.
Ooh,
This is a
you're
total hoax.
basically revert to the mean.
Yeah, this is a total hoax. This is not. This is not. He does not shoot this well.
I'm giving him. I think I said this last episode. I think he might shoot over 60% this year.
Whoa.
I think he might. I think he might do it. I got faith in Andre Drummond. I believe in him.
Optimistic.
I'm an Andre Drummond fan, even though nobody else is. I just like the guy. I don't like watching him play basketball, and I don't like him having on my fantasy basketball teams. But I like Andre Drummond, the person. He seems like a nice guy. Avery Bradley's been slumping on this team, but had a very good night tonight. So, and this is why we keep telling people stop panicking. I said I'm going to say this every episode. Stop panicking. Don't drop players who you drafted in the top 60, top 70. Don't do really anything drastic for the first at least 2 weeks. And,
I mean, yeah.
Avery Bradley, people were starting to forget about him tonight. 20 points.
Other than Gorgie Dang, other than Gorgie Dang and Markelle Fultz, I can't think of a top 100 player, of a player who was like universally drafted in the top 100 who should be dropped. Right? Can you?
No. Maybe if I thought a little bit harder, but you're pretty much right. Like, why are you giving up on a player after 2 games, 3 games, 4 games? It makes sense with Fultz. It makes sense with old gorgeous Dang over there because he isn't playing.
Right.
It's very obvious. Like even Jamal Murray, like I don't think I would give up on Jamal Murray even. But gorgeous Dang, Markelle Fultz, they look like trash. Well, Fultz looks like trash. Gorgie Dang doesn't have the playing time. And the number one and most important thing about fantasy basketball is playing time, minutes per game. And if the minutes aren't there, they're just not going to produce. And it makes sense to cut bait with those guys.
Exactly.
Anyone else on this Pistons team that you kind of like for the rest of the year? Anyone on this bench? Stan Van Gundy doesn't really hit the bench very hard.
No. So I mean, if you know whatever happened at the end of last year happens again, then Ish Smith, will need to be added. Ish Smith is a good player when he's getting. He's a good fantasy player. I don't know that he's a good player, but he's a good fantasy player when he's getting minutes. Same with John Lure. I think
it's Lure.
I think he went to Wisconsin, I think, and my friend always yells at me for not remembering how to say his name. Whatever. That guy. So, I mean, those 2 backups, if something ever happens to Tobias Harris, Stanley Johnson, Reggie Jackson, then those 2 backups almost instantly are addable in all leagues. But that's it. It's only in case
until
of
then, those are just deep league relevant type players, right? But yeah, I will throw out there in 22 minutes, Ish Smith had 13 assists off the bench, a great streamer for assist. And shout out to Stanley Johnson for going 6 for 12 tonight. He hit his shots. Look at this.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Still not picking him up.
Yeah, no, you don't want to pick him up. Definitely don't want to pick him up. So I did some dive. I've been talking about this Pistons collapse, and so in case people don't follow the Pistons enough to know what I'm talking about, the Pistons were after 66 games last year. So this is the beginning of March. They were a 500 team. They were in position to make the playoffs in the East. Over their last whatever games, they went 4-12. Andre Drummond averaged 8 points per game, and his field goal percentage fell to below 50%. He became a 47% shooter. His free throw percentage fell all the way down to 25%. The team just totally imploded. And because it's the Pistons and no one really cares about the Pistons, no one talked about it nationally. And I wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't my job to write about fantasy sports. Like,
yeah, nobody noticed.
No one noticed unless you owned, some of these players and were in the playoffs and were like, hey, aren't you supposed to play better than this?
Yeah, those are probably the people outside of um, the greater Detroit area who actually noticed. Even though the people in the greater Detroit area probably didn't even notice. They're like, "What? Pistons are still in town."
Yeah. Did you see? I don't know if you saw the pictures from tonight. So they got a new arena and it was like empty for this game that we were just.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Maybe I can go up there and sit courtside when the Bulls go to town. See, that would have been nice a couple years ago when the Bulls were good. The Bulls are said incredibly, incredibly terrible. But like I promised, I would like to talk about last night's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now the Bulls, when they play the Cavaliers, there is a usually about a 75% chance they're going to win if it's the regular season, and a 25% chance if it's the playoffs. And the Bulls played really well. Of course they did. And luckily they lost because they need to be the worst team in the league and get the first draft pick. But Lauri Markkanen,
Yeah.
was just like not even touching the net with his shots. Like,
Yeah. This guy, he's
he could
good.
shoot. He could shoot. And everybody had a pretty good game in the starting group here. And I'm actually going to go out there and say, until Bobby Portis comes back, which hopefully he never does, but Larry Markin should be owned in standard leagues. He had 19 points, 5 3-pointers, and 8 rebounds and a block.
Oh, he should be owned in all leagues. He should be owned in 8-team leagues.
Yeah, why not? Get him out there, put him on your roster, get those quality starts in your roto and head-to-head leagues.
Yeah, I mean, he is doing literally nothing in assists, steals, and I think he has like 2 blocks this season. Yeah, 2 blocks in 3
games. He's
so,
not going to be much else other than a guy who hits 3-pointers, gets some rebounds, right? He's Ryan Anderson.
But like better.
He's like old, young Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, but with a better field goal percentage.
That's true. He's shooting incredibly well. He's only taking good shots, it seems. And to him, 3-pointers are good shots. So
yeah,
that is promising, especially as a loyal to the team, not and hater of the front office Bulls fan that I am.
Yeah.
I also went out and said I think Robin Lopez, if he's not owned, he's owned in quite a few leagues. If he's not owned in your leagues, he's really the go-to guy on this team. Like they continue to go to him to get them out of jams, and he's always kind of in the right place at the right time. And last night he didn't have a very good night, only 11 points and 3 rebounds. But I think that's a little bit out of character. And if you need rebounds and a block and some decent points off the waiver wire at the end of your bench from your center spot, Robin Lopez should be open in standard leagues as well.
Yeah. And he even added the 3-point shot this year. I guess he got embarrassed. I guess Blake was embarrassing him with Blake getting all those threes last year, that Robin added it into his game this year.
You mean Brooke?
Yeah, I don't know what I said. Because Brooke was making them last year, and now Robin has made a few this year.
Well, he made one tonight. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Is anyone else on this Bulls team standard league relevant?
Yeah, Jerry and Grant. Jerry and Grant added in all leagues.
I don't know. That guy sucks.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't want him on the Celtics, but he's a starting point guard getting more than 30 minutes a night. Like,
it's trash. Even at 30 minutes a night, he's hit or miss.
I mean, 7 assists, 5 assists, 10 assists. That should not be on your waiver wire.
Yeah, over the last 3 games, he's averaged 10 points, almost no threes, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists and a steal. So, okay, there's the 7 assists is your argument, and that's a fair argument. And if you are getting someone who gets 7 assists, you probably should be owned. I can't do it. And I'm interested to see what happens when Dunn comes back. So Dunn might be back in the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens to Jerry and Grant's playing time after that.
But that might be weeks away. I mean, 7 assists for 1 week is worth an ad.
Sure, yeah, in the intermediate time, right? But over the long term,
And
this
it's
guy's a
not like Dunn's a world beater here.
hey, he's the point guard of the future. Hold on,
Do you
he's the
believe that?
point guard of the future because where we're going in the future, we don't need point guards.
Um, Ed Cooley, the Providence coach, he has brought he brought Jared Dudley. He recruited Jared Dudley and developed Jared Dudley at Boston College, and he brought such other talents as Craig Smith and Sean Williams. Craig Smith played for the Timberwolves for like 3 years. Sean Williams, very few people will remember him. He was suspended, I believe, by the Nets because he showed up late to a game.
That
And
name
when I
sounds
say showed
super
up late to a
familiar.
game, I don't mean, you know, he showed up. The team was supposed to show up at 5:30 for the 7:30 game, and he showed up at 6. I mean, the game started at 7:30, and he showed up at 8:15.
Did Sean Williams have like really stupid dreadlocks, or am I thinking of a different Sean Williams?
He had like a big fro, and then he braided it down.
Yeah, I could. I think I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, I remember this guy.
He could jump out of the building. He was an incredible shot blocker, and he had a commitment to weed. That he was.
Listen, I respect anybody with a commitment to weed. It's a
He liked
fine hobby to get into.
he liked weed more than he liked basketball, and he knew what his priorities were.
Yeah,
And
he possibly should have taken more interested in the hobby that made him could have made him millions
but
of
that's
dollars.
not how he looked at it. To him, it was, you know, he wanted to smoke weed, and basketball was this other thing. And as long as it didn't get in the way of weed, it was okay. And I think he's totally happy with the choices he made.
Well, he was just a handful of years too early, ahead of his time, really, because I don't know if everybody read this, but David Stern came out and said he thinks marijuana should be taken off the banned substance list for the NBA, and I have to say that it should be. I agree with him. It should be taken off the banned substance lists on all lists.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting to think about player. I mean, Sean Williams, we were talking about, but there are a couple of others who their NBA careers were really impacted by, like, weed suspensions. And what would have happened if it was just legal like it should have been, or not banned like it should have been?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of those guys out there, but luckily, and I think it's pretty obvious, that was, the late 90s, early aughts, and in the early 90s, late 80s, it was cocaine, and people were dropping dead.
Yeah, I mean, that was bad. That
just goes to show you the difference between the two substances.
Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad thing.
Certainly. Let's go to the game of the night tonight. The wall ball spectacular. The Los Angeles Lakers versus the Washington Wizards. This game is about over. It's actually a 1-point game. We should not be doing this podcast. We should be watching this game.
Probably.
Let's talk about the guy everybody is talking about because you have to. Lonzo Ball. Tonight, 1 for 8. Huh. Weird when he's playing against a team with guards who can defend. He doesn't seem to be shoot the ball very well. And
I heard. Did you put an S on guards? Are you accusing Bradley Beal of defending?
I think he's defending better than the entire Phoenix Suns team. As obvious with this 1 for 8 performance.
I mean, John Wall's a great defender, and Bradley Beal, yes, better than the Suns.
Yeah, he's out there, right? He's a body. Also, I think they have some guards on the bench that might have maybe got in. Let's talk about this Lakers team, right? I think there's a lot to digest here.
Yeah, that's for
especially sure. With this tonight's, I guess, appearance, the very first appearance of the three named Cavinius Caldwell Pope, 36 minutes tonight, 11.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 3-pointers. I like that across the board type production. Even though his shooting is always good, his shooting percentage is always going to be a little bit suspect. What do you think about Caldwell Pope?
I've never loved him. I mean, I've assumed that his talent is better than the rest of what's on this team, and so I have assumed that he'll have fantasy value because by nature of being better, he'll get a lot of minutes. I've never been like a huge KCP fan. So I mean, like you said, he's historically had a very bad field goal percentage. He's a okay scorer. He's does, you know, he does a little bit in terms of like some steals, a little bit of rebounds, a little bit of assists, but I've never loved his stat profile, but he's probably someone who should be owned.
So in the world of like I said, I wasn't joking when I said I follow the three named guys in the league. In the world of Hollis, Jefferson, Caldwell Pope, Kilgikris, who is definitely at the bottom of the list now. Caldwell Pope actually kind of solidified himself last year being one of the better of those three. I don't throw Cat in there because he's too good.
Right.
And even though his shooting percentage is trash, he was hitting threes and getting the occasional rebound, the occasional assist, occasional steal. With more playing time this year, I'm a little worried that his volume shooting will be even somehow worse, even though he'll score a little bit more, probably hit a little bit more threes. I mean, I think he's worth streaming, but I just don't think he's worth owning.
I mean, I think 36 minutes tonight, and if that's the workload he's going to see, it's rare for someone to be averaging more than 32 minutes and not be worth owning. So I feel like he's probably going to be worth owning, though I agree he's not the most exciting player, and that field goal percentage, if he's getting extra volume, might hurt.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised Luke Walton played him 37 minutes tonight. This game is about to go into overtime. Just got tied up at 92-92. I think Brandon Ingram just hit the final shot, according to my updates here. Brandon Ingram, some people have pegged him out to be a kind of a breakout star this year. I think he's still pretty wiry, still got a lot to prove. Tonight he's got 19 points and 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you think Brandon Ingram's a top 100 player by the end of the season?
I didn't, but I'm coming around.
I'm still holding judgment, right? I still think he needs to work on a lot.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So I didn't coming. He's one of these players who, we don't always get him right, and he's one of these players who I'm coming around on. He's definitely going to get the minutes. He was averaging more than 30 minutes last year, so he's definitely not going to lose minutes this year. And while he kind of stunk last year, especially compared to expectations, he looked great at Duke, and I thought he was going to translate well to the NBA. So, it's weird that he had such a weird, inconsistent, bad year last year, but maybe he's finally becoming that player that I saw him flash when he was at Duke.
He's got flashes, right? Like I completely agree with you there. The flashes are there, and that's what makes me interested. Anytime a player, similar to what I was talking about with Jamal Murray, the flashes are there, the youth is there, the talent is there. It's just when are they going to put it together? And
he's someone I'd rather have in weekly lineups than in daily lineups, because even though he's not a rookie right now, he's probably going to keep going through those rookie-like inconsistencies. I mean, I'm looking at his like the way ESPN shows his box score, and it's so perfect for what I think of Brandon Ingram right now, because in every category, it's wildly inconsistent. 12 points, 25 points, 7 points, 19 points.
Yeah.
Rebounds, 10, 2, 2, 5. Like,
it makes no sense. He still hasn't put it together.
It's all over the place. Sometimes two of the good stats align and sometimes they don't. And so, in a weekly format where I don't have that option to be putting him on my bench for his one good night and then put him in the roster in the lineup because he had a good night last night and he sucks. I like him more in that setting where I have to make that decision once. I don't want to be making the decision every day.
Yeah, those types of players are super frustrating, and I can't really deal with that type of inconsistency. Just that kind of – I check my roster ungodly amount of times per day, per week, and I play in a lot of roto leagues, right? So you'd think I would get used to the fact that, all right, it's all about averages. It's all about what they do for the entire season. But it's also about, in roto, is just getting quality starts. And having a guy who gets really good starts and then really bad starts that averages out to an all right player, that works sometimes. I don't think Brandon Ingram's averages are an all right player. I think it's maybe a waiver wire player, maybe a standard league fringe player into the bench type of player. He's not, doing Nick Batum stuff where he almost gets a triple-double and then the next game has like 11 points and 4 assists. Like, Nick Batum's super inconsistent, but his average is good enough to be, a top 70, top 60 player.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Scoring is such an overrated category in fantasy, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore a player getting 25 points and 19 points in 2 of his first 4 games. That's you. In order to score that much, you have to have some amount of ability.
Yeah, you have to have the talent. And speaking of talent, we skipped over the guy who went 1 for 8 tonight, Lonzo Ball. He's got 8 assists, a steal, a block, 7 rebounds, 4 points. What's going on with Lonzo Ball so far this season, and what do you think about him the rest of the season?
So, yeah, Lonzo Ball. I mean, is he like a like roided up Ricky Rubio? Like, I guess not roided, because Ricky Rubio and Lonzo Ball, neither of them are like, overly muscular, but like if Ricky Rubio took, HGH and was
but Ricky Rubio's taller, good.
But I think Lonzo
Ball good?
Yeah, I think he is.
He's a good distributor, right? But Ricky Rubio has developed the ability to hit the occasional 3, get to the rim, score some points. I get it. It's Lonzo's like 3rd game of his NBA career. I guess he's got some work to do, right? But how long is it going to take for that work to get done?
So, I mean, he's not a scorer. That's not what he is. That's not what he was. He's a good 3-point shooter. But, I mean, think about he averaged in college, he averaged more than 2 3-pointers a game. So that's 6 points right there. But yet he still didn't average 15 points a game. He's not someone who takes a ton of shots, and it's almost Maury Ball-like in terms of the way he either shoots a 3 or he shoots from real close.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to be someone who is a bulk scorer or like a Wiggins-esque type player.
Oh no.
He you're not drafting him for that, right? Like you should have known what you were drafting for in the first place. You're drafting for the assists, but the rebounds have really impressed me. He's averaging 9 rebounds over the last 3 games,
And I
and
expect that to continue.
yeah, and they're giving him the most minutes on this team. They're playing him 34 minutes a game, and for those 2 reasons, the playing time and the combinations of rebounds and assists, make him ownable in all standard leagues, really, because it's hard to find, 8, 9 assists guys hardly anywhere. Like that's an incredibly rare stat. It's got to be frustrating to see 4 points. Oh, don't worry, he had another shot. He scored 6 tonight.
Oh, phew.
Close one.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a scorer. He's apparently not going to be one, at least not this year, not in the young stage of his career. But I mean, those rebounds, those assists, those threes when he's shooting better than 1 for 8, or now he's up to 2 for 10. That's gonna be, he's gonna contribute. I think he still might finish as a top 70, top 80 player. I think that's still in play.
Yeah, it's definitely in place because of the assist and steal combination, the assist and rebound combination, the fact that he can get probably a steal and a 3 or 2 eventually once he gets his shot together, even though he has one of the uglier shot than Sean Marion, and that's saying a lot. Let's do a real quick rapid fire for the rest of these Lakers and Wizards. Kyle Kuzma is playing 30 minutes tonight. He should not be owned in standard leagues, correct?
Not for the purpose of using him daily. He is okay to own as a stash, as someone who you're excited about what might happen if
you're in a dynasty league, in a keeper league, if you're in a redraft league, what are you waiting for?
I mean, he's a second round pick who came out of nowhere and is already getting 25 plus minutes 3 games in a row.
That's what's so confusing, right? Is that he does have but I'm not impressed with his fantasy stats at all.
I'm not. I'm not either. So, I mean, worth noting though, I mean, one of the things he's doing is scoring. So he's better suited to a points league. I mean, you probably have some listeners who are points league players.
They should stop playing points leagues, but
yeah, that's also
they're out there.
But I also think that non-points leagues are more fun. But hey, if it works for you, you do you.
Yeah, everybody do you. Just stop playing points leagues.
So I don't mind holding on to him as like that sort of, you want to give it a little bit more time to see how it pans out, but you should not be using him. You should not be holding him with the intention of like, next week I'm going to be able to use him, because that's not.
Yeah, no, I would I'd rather hold John Collins. Like John Collins.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On Atlanta, his per 36, his efficiency, his rebounds, the fact that he can shoot free throws, all that adds up to me as someone who could be given the time, a breakout candidate. Kyle Kuzma is playing 25 minutes a game, right? And he looks fine. Like he looks like he scores and gets the occasional rebound, but he's not doing anything fantasy-wise across the board.
Right.
And the other issue is that he's taking minutes away from Julius Randle, who, I mean, I think I'm ready to start dropping him in standard leagues if you want a top 100 guy who could probably be dropped. And Larry Nance Jr. All these guys are taking minutes away from each other, and I'm not sure any of them become a top 100 player this year.
Yeah. I mean, that is the especially disappointing thing about Kuzma, is because Nance and Randall have such more fantasy-friendly profiles. With Nance and Randall, if they could just get the minutes, they would be great fantasy performers, and all of their minutes is going to Kuzma. Yeah.
It's kind of a mess there now between all the 3 of those players. And
for the record, I am not dropping Randall. I definitely think it's premature. I think you need to wait another 5 games minimum. I think his upside is too high.
Give it a couple weeks. Don't do anything drastic in the first 2 weeks. And I think a young guy like Randall on a team like the Lakers would be drastic. But at this point, with the amount of minutes he's been playing, the things that are coming out of that Lakers camp about the way he's been practicing, the way he's been playing, I'm pretty worried about it right now.
I'm worried too, but those reports are actually making me feel better, because if this is an attitude thing, then that can change. And as his attitude changes, the minutes would go up.
True. But, how far will they go up when you got to feed Larry Nance and Kuzma? This like whole situation really isn't ideal. You really want more of a situation where either the guy is next in line or is going to get 25 minutes off the bench no matter what, like a Frank Kaminsky type of situation, not a Larry Nance Jr. situation.
Yeah. What's going on with Brook Lopez?
I don't know. He's not been shooting very well. Taking a lot of threes.
And he's not blocking shots.
No. He's not really hanging around the rim. And I don't know if it's just him getting used to playing in LA, or he doesn't really care to assert himself like he did. I don't know why he cared in Brooklyn, so why is he playing any different in LA? It's a bit of a slump, I think. I'm not terribly worried about it. Maybe he isn't going to average 1.7 blocks per game like he did last year, but it's going to be over a block, and he's going to hit over 3.
Yeah,
and his percentage is going to go back up. I'm not terribly worried about it. It could be because they run a little bit more, and Brook Lopez doesn't like to run too much. So we'll see how this plays out. But I'm not trying to move Brook Lopez or sell him right now, thinking this is what you're going to look. Well, he's going to look like for the rest of the season.
I think you lose too much if you were to try to sell him. I mean, I had him top 40. I couldn't get top 40 value for him right now. I couldn't get top 50 or 60 for him right now.
Nah, it depends. I mean, like I said, it depends on what kind of league you're in. If someone if someone also thinks he's slumping right now and thinks you're, it's one of those trades that the exact trade I talked about earlier. You look at Brook Lopez, you don't like his fit in LA. You think maybe he's, taking a step back this year, doesn't like to run with this team, and he's a top 40 value in your opinion if he played normally. But in LA, he's probably going to be maybe a 60 value. If you can get someone who's in the 50 range who might have a better, higher upside, that's a good trade. Yeah. You're trading down, but you're trading on what you think the rest of the season is going to look like.
Yeah.
Those are hard to pull off, and they're crapshoots. But sometimes you got to take a chance.
I'd rather take my chance that he improves.
I think that's fair. He's too good.
Right.
I'm a little concerned that he only played 23 minutes tonight, and Kyle Kuzma is ranking up 33 minutes. But this could be just one of those weird games where Walton wants to see if the kids can win it, and looks like they're about 38 seconds from winning it. My feeling is John Wall might have something to say about that. Let's just wrap this up before the Lakers Wizards game is over. Maybe we can catch the last shot. Alex, you got anything to plug? Anything you want people to go find out there? Maybe download that podcast.
Yeah, I mean, just please check out that podcast, Fast Breaks Fantasy. It's pretty much everywhere. If it's I'm still working out the kinks on I think it's Spotify, but I'm pretty sure it's in just about every other app. So please give me a subscribe, give me a review, check that out. And if you see any problem, if it's not showing up on your podcast of preference, tweet at me and let me know so I can fix it.
What's your where can we tweet at you?
At Rikleen, Rikleen, just my last name.
Perfect. And you can find me, Mike Catron, at Watch the Boxes on Twitter as well. If you enjoyed this podcast, you like what we're doing here, please, first off, go when you get on the app and download the Fast Breaks Fantasy Podcast, because it's a pretty good, nice, little short, quick fantasy podcast for easy consumption. But then rate and review both of those podcasts, because that helps both of us. It helps get our podcast out there, helps people find it. Tell a friend, tell people in your league. Anything you can do, We really appreciate it here, and it helps this podcast continue to provide the analysis that all our listeners seem to enjoy. So cool. I think that's it for tonight. Alex, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good night, everybody.